Are you ready to get your marriage back to where your wife is mindlessly trailing her fingers down your arm while you're sitting together? You remember what it was like being at the table and her foot's down there playing footsie with yours, to be laying in bed at night and when she rolls over, she just kind of cuddles up into you like a spoon. That is an amazing place where she just can't get enough of you. When she looks at you with longing. She looks at you like, I want you to get closer to me. Let's talk in this video about 3 things you need to know about if you want to get your relationship back to that. The 3 areas that you need to know about when it comes to intimacy is that there's physical intimacy, there's emotional intimacy, and there's spiritual intimacy. For us guys, we tend to hyper focus on that physical one. We see it as, you get close to each other, you touch a bit, you kiss, you make out, you like each other, you have sex. It's pretty straightforward. But for a lady, she can sense a whole nother aspect of intimacy that we can sense too. But since it's not quite as important for us, it's just easy to overlook that emotional and spiritual connection. And listen, even if you're not a Christian or don't do God or Bible, the spiritual one is still just as important, because what it's really revolving around is your self-trust, your unshakableness in your truth of how the world works. And that makes you a grounded man, that her moods and emotions and feelings won't rock you around because you know you're going to be okay. So let's think of it like this. The island out there on the horizon that you can see from the boat, because you're in a boat right now. And that island way over there, that is wild, hot sex, good, connected, great intimacy. And you want to get your boat there. That's where you want to head to. Now, those 2 islands of emotional connection and spiritual connection are pit stops your boat is going to have to stop by if it's going to reach that. But here's another thing. The paddles you're using to get your boat from here to there have to consist of the very things you want to have when you arrive. So if you want to arrive at Wild Sex Island and have there be lots of desire and connection, appreciation and respect, you have to paddle your boat forward, being a man who respects, being a man who desires, being a man who appreciates. If you're not using those as your paddles and you're holding out, or you're have a grudge, you're resentful, you're unappreciative, you're tense, you're literally paddling your boats away from that island. So this is the principle. You do have to be something before you can have it. That's just how life works. So many times we're literally in a state of resistance to what we want because we're not being it. We're paddling away from the island. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're wondering, well, how do we paddle to this emotional island and then this spiritual island if that's what we have to stop at on the way to spiritual? I'm sorry, on the way to physical. So that is exactly what I teach guys how to do. It's not as complicated as it sounds to bring an emotional experience into the relationship, to have an element of spirituality that makes it so that she wants to get closer to you. Isn't it amazing that a woman is wired to notice if she feels drawn to your presence? Because if she feels drawn to the presence, she wants to move her body from where it is closer to your body. She wants you to be up against her, to touch her, to be inside her. But if she doesn't sense that spiritual drawing around you, she wants to move her body to the other side of the room. And so maybe that's where you are right now. Your wife doesn't even want to be in the room with you. She wouldn't even sit on the couch with you right now if you wanted to have a conversation. That's why we have to talk about these other islands first. That energy you're going to build around you is how you bring her from being way over there to being right here, to even closer to where now intimacy is happening on a physical level. I tell guys like this, think of your sex drive, your desire for respect and appreciation and intimacy to be like that of a powerful Ferrari. Like you're ready to rip and go. And what are we waiting for? Let's get there. But when you drive your Ferrari down the road and you get to a traffic light, you do have to stop for that thing if it's red. Feminine is the traffic light. She's letting you know, are we intimately connected on an emotional level? Are we spiritually in a place where that essence around us draws us where we can't help but want to be closer and closer? If the answer is no, her light turns red. Now, what would you tell a man down here in town if he was at a red light and wanted to get his Ferrari going again back on the highway? How would you tell him to turn that light green? Well, every light I've ever sat at, you just have to wait. Eventually, she turns green and you get to go. So she is the indicator of these levels of connection in your life. And what can you do but just chill out when that light is red and focus on who you're going to be so you can paddle your boat forward. But I'll tell you right now, I've sat at a few red lights that never did change. I don't know, the wires got crossed somewhere, that sensor didn't know I was parked there, and that thing stayed red indefinitely. And some men do find themselves in that situation. But you know what? I help guys in that position too. There are options, U-turns, side streets. There are other ways to move the Ferrari forward if your light is broken that you are at. Check out the link in the description because I actually wrote a book where I put a lot of this stuff down for you to read in an easy format, getting right to the point to help get you clear on these basic things that I wish my dad had taught me, because every man who's trying to have a relationship with a woman needs to know it. Check it out in the description there. All right, guys, you take care.